Vanakkam, namaste. My name is Harini Rajagopal. I am an assistant professor in language and literacy education here in the Faculty of Education at UBC. I'm delighted to be here with you. First off, I'm deeply grateful to be doing this work on the unceded ancestral traditional territories of the Musqueam people. My work grows from anti-racist perspectives and focuses on collaborating with children, their families, and their teachers to mindfully include their diverse communicative repertoires into educational spaces. So the intersectionality of race and social class, gender, languages, literacies, socio-geographic locations, and spaces of heart and hope are the interdependent roots of my anti-oppressive practice and the focus of my research within the early years education field. To do this work, I listen for stories, especially from racialized and marginalized children and their families, and to surface capacity and brilliance. I listen for stories of capacity, for diverse languages, for modes, for perspectives, identities, ways of being, and focus on co-creating collaborative, caring, equity-oriented pedagogical designs. I also listen for children's views on their learning, their perspectives on the world shaped through social, cultural, linguistic, emotional, artistic, and material contexts. And also listen to what we can together learn and sense from land. Towards this, I also work collaboratively with educators, designing multimodal, multilingual, and culturally sustaining practices that build on all students' interests and resources from their home and communities, and practices that can honor and highlight children's brilliance. So my research is in conversation with what happens in homes and classrooms and the world, and finding ways to engage with teachers as we responsively, relationally, and creatively value children's ways of being. So most recently, I worked on a project called Joyful Encounters, along with a group of amazing K-3 educators and their students, and my fantastic research assistant and LLAD PhD candidate, Giovanna Lucci. In this project, so the teachers and the researchers and the children played with materials. We built with clay. We explored color and printmaking in order to invite children's identities, their cultures, their creativity, and critical thinking into early literacy's classrooms. We found that children playfully and multimodally construct stories about their lives. They use all their languages. They reflect socio-emotional understandings and generate relationships and emotional connections with each other, with materials that they worked with, and with the land. We also found that the materials had their own agentic creative spaces and their own stories as well. Interestingly, both children categorized as ELL and those more familiar with English learned and shared powerful language. They shared vocabulary, spelling, story structure, and all those traditional literacy skills in authentic, artistic, and adventurous ways. I found this such a joy as a way to think about emergent literacies within these creative possibilities. As I said, my interest is in how children create, share, and learn through languages and literacies in the plural, and how we can mindfully listen to, honor, and support those perspectives through creative, equitable practices towards more just and loving futures for us, humans, and for the more than human. I often collaborate with children and teachers in elementary schools, often kindergarten to grade 3, and also with preschool-age children and educators. Towards this end, I often reach for the power of stories. I find stories, both fiction and nonfiction, powerful in invoking the past, speaking to the present, and journeying into the future. Since stories are ongoing, contextful, heartful, and locate intricate experiences in people, in time, in place, materials, and emotions, researching with stories feels vital to me to understanding how to make change. I listen for stories shared not only with words, but in multiple ways, multiple modes, playing with materials or technology, co-composing visual arts like drawing and photos to showcase, again, children's brilliance, especially in response to the deficit identities that some marginalized and racialized children carry within societies and in schools. I particularly love the process of visual analysis with children about the art that they've created and to surface children's ways of being as knowledge. That's one that involves allowing for time, space, trust, respect, and humility. With this comes the importance for me of recognizing reflexivity as a methodological practice that raises critical questions to the problematics of doing research issues of power, voice, representation, researcher and research subjectivities, and also of process. I build from a feminist ethic of care as a framework that offers ways to center care in pedagogy and in decision-making. So I'm profoundly inspired by children and families, and by researchers, teachers, students, community leaders, elders, and artists, both in my projects in India and here in Canada. And this teaches me to wonder, to be creative, to interrogate Eurocentric and neocolonial constructions of education, to consider ways of decolonizing normative practices and centering orientations to justice and to equity. I'm also inspired by Indigenous ways of working with children and communities with respect, with reciprocity, responsibility, and reflexivity. So for the pivotal moment, I was grateful to be able to collaborate with a grade 2-3 classroom and the children to showcase their multilingual narratives to complement their photographs and drawings within an art gallery. As part of this design research, the children planned the themes and titled 2 parts of the gallery, Looking Closely and Something and Someone I Love. And with these 2, they were delighted to invite their families, their school community, their friends, to showcase their creative energies and also their courage. For many of the newcomers and those labeled English language learners, this gallery offered a space where their whole selves could be celebrated within their communities. And visiting grandparents and parents exclaimed when reading narratives in Tagalog, in Hindi, in Mandarin, German, Spanish, English, and excitedly remarked on children's close-up drawings of leaves and photos of favorite toys. Children and teachers high-fived each other, adding cheering notes, and most importantly, the children themselves glowed with joy. I am forever inspired by that project and the power of creative, relational spaces to move us towards equity and joy in education. Especially within the challenging times now of financial precarity, climate catastrophe, racial inequity, and global migration, I believe in the importance of understanding how diverse cultural, socioeconomic, and family contexts shape early learning and literacy experiences, both inside and outside of school and on land. I think this holistic, culturally sustaining focus can provide equitable, authentic, decolonized, and personalized approaches to early childhood education and care. These ways of thinking about the field also move us towards deeper reconciliation and connect with Indigenous ways of being, and also considering the field more globally as well. I'm also eager to continue exploring arts-based work from post-humanist perspectives and to think alongside others in considering humans as part of a broader interconnected network of beings, like a sense of interbeingness, which I really live and really love. Relatedly, I'm in a project exploring the dynamic relationships between children and their local forest, emphasizing imaginative, ecological, and relational approaches to education and literacy. So fun. And I'm excited also to understand how digital media and technology influence young children's lives and learning, and how educators are taking up these spaces in creative pedagogies. And I feel a fluid relational way of living and learning together, of exploring languages and literacies joyfully, and building skills and competencies in context will always remain important for children, teachers, and the field. So much to learn and enjoy.